Welcome back to the Manosphere Paradigm, the channel where we learn to level up in health, wealth, relationships, and hobbies. I'd like you to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell so that you can be informed of content as I drop them on a weekly basis. I also want you to go down into the link down in the description and go get your merch from the Manosphere Gear Store today. Talk about the Victim Olympics, how we tend to partake in it, where I've looked at the current Olympics that's currently happening at Tokyo 2020. It's an Olympics that's got different sports codes, different types of events and different types of technicality. And I've kind of like interestingly drawn the comparisons between the two, where we tend to have different levels of engagement when it comes to the way we partake in feeling like a victim, and the one trying to one up each other when it comes to, you know, my struggle was worse than yours, my struggle was more hectic than what you had to experience, and way more tougher. And we tend to get into this victim mentality and kind of like partake in this victim Olympics, where we try to outdo each other and also get to a point where we try to actually get a gold medal for something that is as negative, such as of being a victim and having that type of mindset. So I thought of having this, just drawing that interesting comparison between the two, and just giving you a practical example of how we tend to get involved and kind of like get into that victim mentality, start living out that types of victim mentality, and how it negatively impacts us as we live our day-to-day lives. As I mentioned, there's different types of sports goals, there's different types of difficulty when it comes to and technicality, a technical type of ability that you need to have to be able to perform certain types of sports goals. There's the archery, there's the more physical, where it is karate, where it is wrestling, and you have your other sports as soccer, or it's a team sport, and you kind of can draw the conclusion or draw the comparison where people kind of like get into crowds to complain and just have that victim mentality and basically complain to in a group about certain things that they are unhappy of. So one of the things and one of the ways that we tend to, the things that I can identify is just blaming our parents. Where we blame our parents, we blame where we grew up, we just blame everyone as to being a victim, as to, you know, I grew up with this type of parents, and maybe I had a single mom, maybe I had only I had both parents, but maybe the one was more present than the other, or I had both parents but they didn't give me what I wanted when it came to physically getting the clothes I wanted, getting the gifts that I wanted at Christmas, being able to go to a particular school, or being able to live in a certain neighborhood because they couldn't afford it, or whatever the case may be. We tend to look at our parents and we tend to go into this victim mentality of, you know what, I can't do this, I can't do certain things maybe with your kids or with your nephews, whoever is youngsters in your life that you are a role model to, and you say, you know what, I can't be that because I didn't have that in my life, and what I can give them is all I can give them. So that is a trap that we all need to just try to avoid and take ownership of, that although our parents has given us the example they gave us, that is not the example that you can, if it was a positive example, you can definitely model after it. But if it was, unfortunately, was a negative one, you need to find out what is the best way that you need to be able to get rid of some of the things that was negatively impacting you, and how you need to make sure that you get on the right path to be able to be that better influence towards the ones that's looking up to you, whether it's your kids, your nephews, the family around you. One of the things that a lot of people like is blaming government, being a victim. You know what, I don't have this in our country, or we can't go forward to a certain level because of all the corruption in the country. It's A, B, C, D, blah blah, and we can list them off, and certainly there are valid reasons when there is corruption and certain things, infrastructure can't be built and certain industries can't be set up because there's not funds for it. So to a certain extent it's valid, but we can't be a victim and say, you know what, I can't go forward in my life and take my family where it needs to be because of the government. You can accept where you are and make it work in the environment that you find yourself, whether it comes to the country that you live in, or you can say to yourself, you know what, this is not going to work for me, I actually need to immigrate and go somewhere else and make a living elsewhere. We all have choices. You have a choice to do what you need to do so that you can live the life that you want to live. And if your government or the way they operate is hindering you, then you need to make a decision about that. But blaming government for each and everything and how your life can't go forward because of what the inefficiencies and inabilities of government, nah, you need to take accountability, and we need to move forward and make the decisions for you, your family, and where you need to go. One of the other things is when people have a job or they work for a company, they tend to play the victim as, you know what, I'm not being considered for promotions, or I'm not being recognized for what I'm doing, and they constantly play the victim in the fact that they are stuck in where they are. And the reason why they are stuck is because the company is not doing whatever they feel the company isn't doing. You know, we need to take ownership of where we want to take our career, and if the company that you're with is not doing that for you, or is the vehicle for you to get to the career path that you want to, then you need to change things up and go a different route to be able to achieve the goals that you want to. Your destiny is not linked or is chained down to a company, so you have all the power to say, you know what, get out of that victim mentality, get into an abundance mindset, and understand that the world is your oyster. One of the other victim mentalities, or the one of the things people get caught up in, is depending on the country that you live in, you obviously have a certain level of past when it comes politically. In South Africa, the country that I live in, we have the colonial past of apartheid. And it is something that has negatively impacted the makeup of the city that I live in when it comes to Cape Town. How there's been different sets of segregation where people have been the Group Areas Act, where people has been moved out of affluent areas to cater for white people. That inequalities is still perpetuated today, and there is slow movement or growth when it comes to righting the wrongs of the past, but there is still a lot of work to be done. So a lot of times people tend to get into this victim mentality. You know what, I can't do this or I can't do that because of where I come from or the area that I live in, again, going back to government is not doing this, that, and the other. You kind of like have to pull yourself towards yourself and say, you know what, those things I cannot control, but what I can control is how I focus my energy in being able to put together plans and strategies to take my life towards the goals that I want to achieve. So you know what, you can say certain people are privileged. You know, we hear about that often, and there's a lot of things where certain people have gained certain advantages because of the color of their skin, and we are not ignorant of it. But if we're constantly going to just use that as an excuse to not get to where we need to go, I would say personally, for me and my family, and me as a colored person, we call ourselves colored people in South Africa, in Cape Town. We are proudly colored, and us as a people, we need to focus and come together to be able to grow and build each other and build our community as the Cape Flats as to where it needs to be, and to be that safe communities that people can live up and bring up their kids. You know, there's a joint effort between the community, whether it comes to the politicians, whether it comes to policing. There's so much work that needs to be done, but the only way you can change things if you get involved and do what you can do. You know, blaming others, you're constantly going to do that, and you fall into that cycle, and it's not a healthy cycle to be. Victim mentality that a lot of people have, and sometimes I myself, when I went through difficult times, I'm guilty of it, where you expect certain things from God and you say, you know what, it's all God's fault. I've been loyal, I've been putting in the work, I've been doing all this, that, and the other, and I'm expecting this reward. And sometimes it's not in sync with what God's timing is. So we need to get to a point where we need to take ownership again. Ownership is, I'm going to stress that over and over again, because we tend to just blame each and everything around us, and we tend to look out instead of in. So there's times that God would hold certain things away from you, that not give you what you want because maybe it's not good for you, or the timing is just not right. So that is also just something that we need to focus on in understanding there's certain times and seasons for everything. And when we mad at God for not having something happen when we wanted it to happen, the way we wanted it to happen, we need to realize he's in his infinite wisdom, he obviously knows that there's a certain time and place that it's got that thing in store for you, and he's gonna bless you with it. So all you need to do is put in the work towards it, but then be patient to understand that God will bring it your way when you have obviously he's decided, you know what, this is the proper time for you to get it, because you know how you're going to use it and how you're going to grow with whatever you're wanting and asking him for. And last but not least, when it comes to the victim mentality of blaming everyone else, the people that gets it the worst, unfortunately, is the ones that's closest. And if you are in a relationship, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whether it's your wife, your husband, they tend to be the first ones that get the gripe of if there's certain things that is unsettling you, certain things that are making you anxious. They're the first ones that's going to hear about it, and maybe if there's certain things that you're not happy with, or there's an issue or problem, you're basically going to blame them and be an important parcel of you not being able to get out of them what you need, maybe what you expect. But they tend to be the punching bags, unfortunately, and it's something that we definitely need to work out. And like I said earlier on, it's something we need to look inward instead of outward and cut them some slack, because again, they are as human as we are, and they make mistakes the same as we do. So when it comes to this whole concept of the victim Olympics, a lot of times it feels good to rant, it feels good to let out, but sometimes we need to hold our tongue and not just give into the emotion of just going with the emotion and ranting and just going off. We need to calm down, understand, you know what, where we are accountable personally, and where we need to be able to just realign ourselves and recalibrate, to be able to say to ourselves, you know what, it's sometimes fun, and it's enjoyable to be part of the victim Olympics, because you know, with any sport you enjoy the dynamic of whatever sport that tickles your fancy. But at the end of the day, you can get involved, go through trying to outdo each other. When it comes to my life was worse than yours, oh, my race had it worse than what your race had it, or you just get it easy because you are this, that, and you the boss's pet, and this, you can blame each other, you can compare notes, you can go as much as you can go as hard into it and as much and as deep as you want, no pun intended. But at the end of the day, you kind of like have to pull back and say, you know what is the purpose of all of this? Why am I just getting into this thing of wanting to blame and wanting to just be a victim and just hand my life over to others for them to be on control of, whether it's government, whether it's my company, whether it is the other things that I mentioned when it comes to your parents, whether it comes to your part. You need to focus on you. And if once you have that thing of putting together where you're going, nothing is going to shake or pull that away, because you know exactly what you put in place. The plans is rock solid. And yes, maybe there's times that you're going to realign and you're going to need to what you call it, course correct. So it's fun to blame and to get into that mentality, but it's negative and it's just caught in emotion. So I hope you enjoyed it. Click the like button, click the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, and don't forget to pop into the merch store. Go to the Manosphere Paradigm Gear store, get your merch. There's 5 days left to get your 15% off, so don't miss out. Cheers.